And joining us now is Fox News national security analyst and host of FoxNews.com's DEFCON 3 show, 1 p.m. on Wednesdays. And, in fact, she's going to be a guest on Fox News today at 12:15. She's, of course, the one and only KT McFarland. Good morning, KT.
Good morning, guys.
So Edward Snowden, he is now committed to Russia, it seems, for his asylum. A lot of people, I know you have been unequivocal in your condemnation of Edward Snowden's actions, but some people have been on the fence here, some people calling him a hero for what he's done. Does the fact that he's going to Russia really undermine this narrative that he is in some way an American hero?
Look, whistleblowers, they don't go to Russia and China and Cuba and Venezuela. Spies and traitors do. I think it's important to always separate Snowden from the information he revealed, which was important for us to know, and how he went about doing it. And you don't go doing it by giving it to America's biggest enemies. If he really wanted to be a whistleblower, go to Capitol Hill. There are plenty of friendly congressmen and senators who would have loved to have revealed this information. Edward Snowden would be a hero now, instead of what he is, where he looks like a cornered rat.
Well, and knowing Russia the way you know it, what kind of deal do you think may have been struck here? I mean, they're not going to take this guy on unless there's something, there's something in it for them.
Well, they get the chance to humiliate Obama and the United States yet again. I think that from the Russian perspective, Snowden's been good for three things. One, he's given them real information, real intelligence. But two, and probably most importantly, he's given them knowledge of how we go about collecting intelligence. In other words, the method, so that what they can do is, it's too late to hide what they already know that we know. But as far as future activities, they can now adjust their intelligence system, their communication system, so that we cannot gather intelligence on them going forward. And then finally, as I said, he's given the Russians a great opportunity to totally humiliate us. I mean, Putin got that Super Bowl ring, right?
Yeah.
And he's kept it. And now what he's got is everything he wanted out of Snowden. So who needs Snowden at this point?
I'm rather fascinated by this story that's coming out of the Panama Canal about a ship that came out of Cuba, was stopped, and they found a lot of brown sugar from Cuba and a whole lot of weapons. And it's really become sort of an international thing. And what do you think is going on with that?
Well, I think, first of all, it's quite interesting that it wasn't us, that it was the Panama Canal authorities that found it. I do think that a lot of the trade, illicit trade that goes between North Korea, Cuba, Iran, goes by ship. There is a United Nations declaration and resolution that anybody has the right to stop a ship that they think contains that stuff. In this case, I don't think they were looking for it, they just found it.
But when they found it, I mean, there are a couple of things that are very suspicious. The captain was so upset about being found out about all this that he attempted to commit suicide, and that members of the crew apparently then tried to disable the cranes so it'd be more difficult for them to go through what was on the ship.
Well, just think of the countries involved and how they deal with people who present problems to them. What do? People present problems, we give them a lawyer. What do they do in North Korea or Cuba or Iran or Venezuela? Well, they're never heard from again. And I think that's why the crew of this ship was probably a little worried that they weren't going to get the lawyer route, that they were going to get the disappearing route for their punishment.
Liz Cheney, apparently, daughter of Dick Cheney, she has now announced that she's going to challenge Republican Mike Enzi in Wyoming for the Senate seat. She used to work at the State Department. What do you think of Liz Cheney as a potential voice in the Senate?
I think it's a terrific thing for the Senate, for the country, for the conservatives, for the Republican Party. She's articulate, she's smart, she knows domestic policy, she knows foreign policy. And the other thing is that, she's a mom. I mean, she's done mom things. She's done extraordinary things professionally, but she's also taken some time off to be a stay-at-home mom. So I think she speaks to a whole new generation, and she also speaks to women who are struggling with, like every woman in America today, to struggle with some aspect of balancing career and family and children and fulfillment. And so I think she's terrific, not just for her political stand on things, but what she represents.
But she's going to be going against an established Republican, Mike Enzi, and how's that going to play out?
I think it's great. I think she'll probably win. I mean, I don't know enough about Wyoming. I'm not really the person to ask. I do think that...
I don't know, KT. You're usually our go-to person on internal Wyoming politics.
You think so?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah. You're all about Cheyenne.
But as a Republican woman, I think it's really terrific to see women who are round vetted and well balanced, putting themselves forward. I do think there is a double standard for women. I think when a woman runs for any political office, her whole family runs, and in this case, obviously, Vice President Cheney, but her children, her husband, or her brothers and sisters. When a man runs, and so there's a much higher bar for a woman candidate. But I applaud her decision to do it, and I think it's terrific.
I note with great interest that the Russians have come up with a solution to being hacked.
Yeah.
They've come up with an old-school solution to a new-founded high-tech problem. If you don't want to get hacked, if you don't want to have people reading your emails, if you don't want to have people snooping on what's on your computer, don't have a computer. They're apparently using typewriters, KT.
Yeah, and the interesting part is which part of the Russian government is using typewriters? The most secret of the secret services is using. I think they're watching a lot of reruns of Mad Men.
There you go.
Exactly.
Well, listen, now that Snowden's living there, it's probably wise for them to tighten up security a little bit.
Well, and that's why they're doing it. They've seen how easy it is for, as the President Obama says, a 28-year-old hacker to walk out with the crown jewels.
Yeah. All right, KT McFarland, thanks so much for joining us as always. And again, KT will be live today at 12:15 on Fox News. Check her out. Thanks, KT.
Thank you.